Hi guys, my name's Bill, and in this video I want to share a little repair experience that I had with my 2001 Jeep Grand Cherokee. So one of the main reasons why I like my Jeep so much is because it's easy to work on. The parts are pretty cheap, they're readily available, and the Jeep's a little bit older so I don't have a car payment. I'm not worried about a couple dents or dings, and it does pretty good in the wintertime. But it always seems like every time I do a repair on the thing, there's always one bolt or one nut that will absolutely make the repair completely miserable. And let me show you what I'm talking about. Now this is the old front drive shaft off of my Jeep. And I took it off about a year ago because the CV end that went on the transfer case on the end of the shaft here, the bearings were bad, so I had some serious vibrations going down the road. So I didn't wear out the bearings in the transfer case or anything like that until I got a new drive shaft. I took it off. Well, I ended up having it off for about a year. And to buy a new one of these, I think was like $500, and I couldn't afford to spend that, so I was going to replace just the end for $50. But the reason why I didn't do that was because the shaft here was seized up. There was no play. So I don't know if this was seized up and caused the bearings to go bad, or if the bearings went bad, overheated this and caused it to seize up. I don't know. There used to be a boot on here. I took the boot off. It didn't have any tears or anything in it. It just didn't, the slip joint didn't move. So this was off for about a year. Kind of put it on the back burner. Went through the winter. Didn't really have any issues. Well, I had to go to New York the other week. So on a whim, I looked on Craigslist and I found a brand new drive shaft. The guy had bought one for a 98 Grand Cherokee, and it was too long because it was for the 99 to 04, which is what I have. So for $60, I got a brand new drive shaft with a good CV end and a good universal joint already installed. That was the least of my problems. The drive shaft was perfect. It's when I went to put it on my Jeep is where I had the problem. Let me show you the part that gave me the problem. So this is very similar to the yoke that was on my front differential. And the reason I have this one, and it's not on my Jeep, is because when I went to install the universal joint, the universal joint was already on the drive shaft when I got it. So all I had to do was stick it in here, put the little cap pieces on, and run the bolts in. Well, I had kept the bolts in a little magnetic container with some oil on them so they wouldn't rust or anything like that. And they sat in there for like a year. Now, I don't know if that was my problem or not, but no matter what I did, I could not get those bolts to tighten down far enough to hold the universal joint tight. So I ended up snapping off 3 bolts, trying to tighten them down. I was tightening them, backing them off, tightening them, backing them off, and I couldn't get them to go all the way down. So I ended up snapping 3 off. So when I snapped the bolts off, I went on eBay and ordered what I thought was the right yoke for my differential. And it's not, because the bottom of this one here is much heftier than the one that's on my Jeep. So what I ended up doing was drilling out the holes with a 1/4-inch drill bit to remove all the old bolt and the threads, and I put bolts down through with nuts on the back. And that was the biggest pain in the butt in the world, because there's no room. These weren't really meant to have nuts on there because they don't give you a whole lot of space on the back here to get a wrench in there, let alone a socket. And then the ends had to be pretty narrow so they didn't hit the curve on the cap. So I ended up using 1/4-inch Allen key, 1/4-20 bolts to go through there. Let me show you on my Jeep. So here's a pretty good look at the 1/4-20 Allen key bolts that take a 1/4-inch Allen key, and then the nuts. And you can see there's no space. It's hard to see on camera, but there is no space to get a socket around that. These are almost touching. I had to hold the nuts in place and tighten this down because this will not turn because it's just snug against the housing right here. But I got them all tight, and it took forever. Probably took me about 20 minutes with a little tiny L-shaped Allen key and a wrench attached to it, and just the very tips of a wrench holding this in place. And to try to get to the top ones was even worse. These ones here were pretty easy. They were pretty exposed. And even on the CV end down there are 6 bolts that go around the perimeter of that to hold it to the transfer case. And those bolts there, I still had a problem getting those in. I had to tighten them up a little bit, back them off, tighten them down, back them off, until I got those ones to completely seat and hold the CV end to the transfer case. I was afraid I was going to snap those off too. If I would have snapped any of those bolts off, this would have been a two-wheel drive Jeep for the rest of its life. But luckily I got all those in. Alright, so that was my little repair experience. That should have been something simple, but there was just that one bolt or nut that really threw a monkey wrench in the whole situation. Now I have been driving this thing for a couple weeks now. No vibrations. I've had it up as high as like 75, 80 miles an hour. And it's perfectly smooth, and the drive shaft did not fly off. And everything's still tight whenever I've been checking it because I was really paranoid about altering the way that it should have been installed, from original. So I'll end this video with a little drive up the mountain in four-wheel drive, and thanks for watching, guys.